This episode of the Off-Road Podcast is sponsored by Warn, Colby Valve, and 4Patriots. Off-Road Podcast, episode 424, Alcohol Abuse.
Tonight, Aaron's on a big boat trip. Coy is too trusting, and Ben falls on his face.
Welcome to the Off-Road Podcast, the podcast about everything off-road. We cover the news, review products, and interview people in the off-road industry. Your hosts tonight are Coy, and my name's Ben, and welcome to the show. Well, Coy, Mommy's away, so we get to play and drink, right?
What are you drinking tonight, Aaron?
Aaron's drinking nothing.
Sorry to both Ben and Aaron. What are you drinking tonight, Ben?
I'm drinking Arnold Palmer Spiked. I'm on pharmaceuticals for antibiotics right now, so I decided to go light with it.
I love Arnold Palmers. I've been meaning to try those. Haven't got one yet. I was gonna get just a couple big old Bud Lights to drink on the show because it's hilarious. I love the comments when I drink a Bud Light, but I decided to be full overlander. I went and got some seasonal Portland Cider Company. There we go. Get it up there. Yeah, that's right. Pumpkin spice cider. So I've been waiting to open this till just now. Oh yeah, you can hear it. Oh, it's as good as I remember it last year. It's my favorite. It's so good.
You know,
and of course I got it in the tall boy cans because I'm drinking a seasonal microbrew cider doesn't mean I can just put away my hillbilly roots and not drink it out of a tall boy.
It's hilarious. This time of year rolls around, and I know how much you love pumpkin spice. I went out and I bought a pumpkin. The wife and I were at Walmart, I think, and she saw pumpkin spice car fresheners, and like the tree ones. And so we bought a pack. I'm like, all right, one for the 4Runner, one for the car, one for the van. I'm like, maybe I'll save one and give it to Coy. I'm like, nah, he can buy his own.
I never feel more loved any other time of the year than fall because everybody knows my, I'm not sure what you would call it. I have like a pumpkin. Yeah, I would almost a kink at this point. I have like a pumpkin spice kink.
No kink shaming here.
Yeah, so you can't kink shame me. Yeah,
I love it as much.
So many people buy me pumpkin spice stuff because they know I'm this overweight bearded guy that's just like full wholesale into it, and it makes me feel very loved, more so than Christmas or anything else.
You know, the funny thing is, I love pumpkin spice, kind of, sort of, as much as you do. Like I enjoy it that much. So it's funny because I'm like, oh, Coy will love that. And like, we were like, I'll see, what was it? There was a deodorant, and a soap. It's some hippie company that makes stuff. My wife found their peppermint one and loves it. And then I saw this year they have a pumpkin spice one. I'm like, I should buy it for Coy. And then I smell it. I'm like, maybe I should just buy it for myself.
I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that Facebook user that's in here is Aaron.
Eggnog.
In the comments. Eggnog beer, I'd try it, man. Like, yeah, what's next? Eggnog beer? Like, I'm not gonna knock it till I try it. I like eggnog.
Yeah.
I feel like all adults like eggnog. Like, it's good stuff.
Especially adult eggnog.
It's not terrible. If you're drinking with us tonight, throw it up in the comments. Let us know what you're drinking. Raggle Fraggles got some Bullet Rye. Eric Ewers has some First Call Rye. I've never had that. I'm not aware of it. Sounds interesting. Not a big rye guy, but I do love rye.
You know, I like the Bullet Rye. Or is it the rye? Is the rye the orange one, or is that the purple or the green one? I think that's the green one's the orange, or the rye.
I believe so. Yes.
I drink the regular Bullet.
Ask Raggle Fraggle. He literally has a bottle in his hands.
Yeah, is that the green one, Raggle Fraggle?
Green label.
Green label or
Facebook label? User says pumpkin spice is weirdly good, like when you crank up Britney Spears on the way to the trail. Hey man, I don't knock Britney Spears. That's some good stuff, right?
Yeah.
Oops, I did it again. You know, I'm once again drinking some pumpkin spice every fall. I'm like, oops, I did it again, drinking this pumpkin spice. Did you do anything cool this weekend?
Not really. I ordered some. Well, I was gone last weekend because I was on my way home from camping. I went to the rodeo. And I realized like an hour before the show that I wasn't going to be home for 2 hours.
I was there. I remember that.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, okay. I better let them know I'm going to be late. And then I realized I miscalculated time because I had a military time. And so yeah, I totally missed the show. Um, and so I was like, oh, I got home and unpacked the trailer and then ordered the electrical stuff for the shop, and the last of it just showed up today. But then I got sick with strep throat and a double ear infection. So bad that my ears were clogged up and I was losing balance. Last night I fell on my face. So quite fun. I finally food does not taste like broken glass going down my throat, um, which is nice. And my ears don't hurt so bad that I have to have hot compresses on them. So I'm good.
Those
Um,
those headphones must feel real good on your pressing on your ears right now, huh?
Not exactly, no.
No.
Um, Other than that, I had to convince my cousin not to take his RAV4 over to Evans Creek and go up the trail because while it may be the adventure model, I think is what it is, or the TRD adventure, the lifted one,
Yeah.
um, it's not quite good big enough for it's like a stock Toyota at this point right now, stock 4Runner at this point with how high it is in clearance wise. I'm like, it's still not good enough for that. Like, so he's like, I'm like, you could do like some really hardcore Forest Service roads, and so I gave him some options. He just wants to get out.
Hardcore Forest Service roads. The gravel's bigger than other Forest Service
Well,
roads.
I'm talking like out towards Wilkeson. There's some stuff where it's it's really steep incline, mostly kind of rocky, mostly dirt with some whoops in it. Nothing quite challenging enough for I don't know us, but yeah. So I was like, no, please don't do that. So I gave him
Facebook user says the adventure Rav has crawl control. He's good.
yeah.
Send it. Nice. He's good.
So I talked my cousin, and then I got sick, so we didn't go. I'm planning on going out with him. I think I'm gonna take him out to Bethel Ridge, with his RAV4. It's got some really good views. He does some photography, so might come out nice. He's actually our intro music there for some of our new music was stuff my cousin made for us.
Oh, nice.
So I owe it to him to take him out. What about you?
I've had, so I don't know if you noticed in the intro that I said I'm too trusting. As I came in to do show prep, I had some tires off my car because I'm a old school car guy. I had out a paint pen and I was, writing in white on the brand because I think it looks cool. And your tire says BF Goodwrench on it,
Uh-huh.
and whatever R1 or whatever. My 6-year-old daughter, though, she can't not also be involved because this is painting / drawing. I'm using a paint pen.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, you do that tire. I went and checked right before the show started, and I don't know. I don't know how you get paint off of around the letters, but it's you can tell she got it on her hand and then start putting. I'm gonna have to just get like sandpaper. I
So
knew it was gonna happen that way. Like, I couldn't
Devin,
tell her no. She wanted to help. I had to let her help.
well, just might as well go full white wall now.
Josh Staggs in the comments says, I hear Bethel Ridge is amazing. Sure wish I had someone to go with. It's because
Yeah.
both me and Ben bailed on that. And I've never been to Bethel Ridge. Man, the comments are going like crazy.
Yes.
Kevin Code. Sorry, man. I don't know how to spell this name.
Said I should try the Basil Hayden Dark Rye Chef's Kiss.
I'm not a huge fan of Basil Hayden, but Chef's Kiss Dark Rye, I'd be willing to try it. I'm guessing it's not super cheap since it's Basil Hayden, but I'll try anything, especially if it's somebody else's. Kevin, you said 1/4 inch white walls. No, I'm just doing the lettering. I'm not white walling them. I just want to look like I'm a race car.
Your daughter's white walling them for you.
She's white walling them. I should have her paint the tire and leave the lettering black. I think I have they're one-sided directional tires, so I can't just flip it I have to.
Rubbing
I
alcohol.
have to get some sandpaper. I don't know. I'll rub dirt on it, I guess, till it goes away. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, it'll go away.
You go get a black paint marker and
there you go. Yeah, Eric wants to know if paint thinner degrades rubber.
I'm sure it does, but sidewalls are pretty durable, I hear.
Yeah.
Then another interesting happened. Oh, 1 out of 4. No, yeah, it's true. One of my tires hopefully is I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'll fix it, but your dad, you just gotta you do some of this. You do things twice a lot, stuff like that.
Oh, and you'll look back at it if it's still there in a while and be like, oh, look at that.
No, I won't. I'll look back at it and be like, wow, I really wish I still had the cojones to tell her no, but I pushed over, wrapped around her little finger, so I can't.
Joys of being a dad.
Yeah. I had some rock delivered earlier this week, and something interesting happened. I have like a loop turnaround in the backyard with a giant monster oak tree in the middle, and it kind of veers one way, and the box can get up to there's a limb coming off of it the size of a telephone pole. The box can get up there and touch that, but they're always careful. I mean, it's got to be pushing 17 feet or something. Like the box has to be all the way up. Somehow this guy caught that limb. He was running it down, and all the noise of the box coming down, didn't realize he caught it. Brand new dump truck, just beer can crinkled that, the headache rack that goes over the cab. Had all tarps, ripped it off. The guy's boss had to come out and stuff. I don't know what happened. I feel terrible because he's trying to do us a favor and spread it around my circle drive. I don't know if it's a favor. I guess when you deliver rock, spread it, right? But he could have said no. Like, that's the thing. He could have been like, well, that tree, I don't know. Anyways, when I got home, my second load of rock, it was the same truck with the bent bed, but somebody else driving it. So I feel bad.
Yeah,
I feel bad, but I got my rock and I got it all spread. I took and scraped all the old, filled with grass and weeds rock from in front of my shop and stuffed it in my carport addition to the shop and put new shop down there.
Yeah, I need to get that. That'll probably be the last thing I do for the shop is get rock. I've still got to dig the power line to get power out here. I'm still running on an extension cord.
Yeah, that's probably more important than rock at this point.
Yeah, just a bit.
Not a real exciting week for me. I've also, if anybody in the comments that listens to the show is into RC cars, I've been into the crawlers for a while. A buddy of mine's trying to get me into something fast. I've been looking at some of the low C, like Laser Nut and the Rock Ray and stuff. Tell me if I shouldn't, or if there's something else I should get. I just want something I can mob on the beach, kind of Basher-esh type thing. But
man, have you seen some of those hobby shops now where they've got like the racetrack and the crawling track in the shop?
Yeah, there's one local to me that's supposedly closing this month unless somebody buys it. They got like 7 tracks inside. Since malls are going all bankrupt and stuff, this dude has like a quarter of the mall. I think it's 7 tracks. He has like he has drift tracks, crawler tracks. They do like the carpet racing. He has a basher track, this kind of jumps and stuff. I mean, every kind of track you can think of. He has like a NASCAR oval track for guys that are into like, I guess there's like NASCAR RC racing. I mean, Typhoon.
It's got to be a whole lot cheaper than, our stuff.
What's that?
I'd say it's got to be a whole lot cheaper than our stuff, but it's a hobby, so probably not.
No, it's not much cheaper if you're really into it.
This Week in Review was brought to you by 4 Patriots. Have you ever been concerned with the shelf life of the food you take camping? Since you're a listener of the podcast, we know you at least keep some emergency food stashed in your rig. 4 Patriots sells a variety of survival food and equipment that pair great with the off-road and adventure lifestyle. Use code FRN and get 10% off your first order.
I totally forgot to mention that to say thank you to everyone who sent in pictures because I wasn't here last week. A huge thank you to everyone that sent in pictures to help with our new countdown. Um, my ADHD flared up, and I was like, I'm going to do this, this, and this, and edit some podcasts. So I did a bunch of stuff all in one day. And my wife came out in the garage at like 9 o'clock at night, and she's like, "What are you doing? And why haven't you been inside?" Because I wasn't doing anything except sitting at the computer, like hyper focused, hyper fixated on getting stuff done. I'm like, I got these videos all done. Everyone sent in. I had like 33 pictures. I got a couple more pictures. Some people sent them in late. So I had initially offered. I've got a contest going for a Firearms Radio Network patch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it open still. I'm going to say to the end of the month. So just give it an official day. We'll say no later than September 30th. Everyone, you're even afterwards, you guys can send pictures. And I'll keep down names and what pictures you sent, how many you sent. If you send in extra pictures, it's not going to get you another spot, but I'll definitely stick them in the countdown. I'll probably change up the countdown every now and then with some new pictures. So if you just want to see your pictures in the countdown, awesome. Because we like seeing the fact that you guys are out there doing stuff, hitting the trail, because it's our passion just like it is yours. So keep sending them in, and I'll try and update the video every couple weeks or so.
Badland Industries email or Facebook page.
I would prefer email. That's the easiest way to keep track of you guys. I had a bunch of people send them in through the Facebook post that I had originally done. I was like, people can't read, but then I was just like, whatever. I wrote it, so I probably didn't make myself clear enough. So if you send them in Facebook, please at least send Facebook Messenger. But email is preferred because it's a whole lot easier to just track back to you. Badlands, I got your pictures. And actually, so last week, you'd written in about your rig, and I pulled the pictures just so that I could actually mention them, because we got some listener feedback from you, essentially. So here's a couple pictures of his rig, and I'm impressed. I like it.
That's a beast, Colorado.
Yes.
I like to talk trash about Colorados as much as possible, but this thing is amazing. Like, I would love to own this.
That's what is that? That's second generation, or is that first generation?
I think that's first gen Colorado, if I'm not mistaken, but that's 40-inch tires. I think he said he had Dana 60s.
37s is what I thought he said.
I swore he said 40s. Those they look a lot bigger than 37s to me. He'll say in the comments in a second, and he's doing like an LS swap. It's got the bed rack with the roto packs and everything about it.
It's funny because Pete, who's got a Tundra now, he's got a first gen Colorado, and he's done some cool stuff for his 2-wheel drive one. And he's got stuff like he wants to do long travel. And I'm just seeing this. I'm like, Pete, why don't you do this? But damn.
Yeah. 6-liter, 6L80 dual cases. Josh asked if he's running the 5-cylinder, and he is not. Josh, I am running a 5-cylinder, the 3.7 Vortec, as us in the 5-cylinder communities like to call it.
Will do. I'll make sure I hook you guys up via email or Facebook or whatever. And then that's that kind of gives us our listener feedback that I was going to add in. And
we also want to thank our sponsor, Patriot Patch. Head over to patriotpatch.co and check out their selection of great patches, shirts, cleaning mats, signs, and stickers. You can also join the Patch of the Month Club for $15 and receive a patch, matching sticker, and artist proof each month.
I got mine.
Me too.
You know, what I like about these is they can be small-ish, but they're never small. Like you get your money's worth when it comes to real estate that they take up.
They're
mean-
always bigger than the palm of your hand. They're good sized. Yeah.
I don't have small hands.
All right, Mr. Trump.
Yeah, no, definitely. I don't wear little kid gloves. So, you get your money's worth when it comes to real estate that they take up. So, and then, let's not forget our patches. We've still got plenty of those on hand. $13 shipped from us, to you in the US, $10 for $10 for any additional, or $10 picked up from us in person. Shoot us a message. We'll hook you up with a link and get those sent out.
Have tire
Well-
troubles ever left you deflated? Colby Valve has got you.
I'm sorry, Coy. Did you go to say something?
Oh,
cut you
I was just going to say Lumber 1, which is Aaron, says, "Hey, Off-Road Podcast guys, you should have Badland Industries on to talk shop and do a listener ride." And I agree. We need a
Yep,
There you
that's a
go.
great idea.
Have tire troubles ever left you deflated? Colby Valve has got you covered. Ever have a valve stem leak? Colby Valve makes reusable and easily replaceable valve stems that don't require you to remove your tire from the wheel. They work with your off-road rig, ATV, side-by-side, commuter vehicle, or even your tractor. Never be left stranded again because of a busted valve stem. They also have a tire repair kit for those punctures that keep you away from doing your favorite thing, wheeling. Make sure to check out colbyvalve.com or ask for them at your local off-road products store.
Badland Industry says only if vehicle operation is a necessity. What if we do this, Badland Industries? We schedule you on for we go 6 months out. So we do April 15th. And then that gives you the motivation. You need to have the thing done by then. We give you the deadline. It needs to be running. Is that going to help you if we did that? I would do that for a listener if that helps.
I'm all for
All right.
motivating people.
Ben, you want to take this first episode and I'll
First story? Yeah.
Sorry.
So, our first story is from Motor Trend, and Jeep revealed a limited edition Jurassic Park appearance package for the Wranglers and the Gladiators. And I've got a picture here. It's somewhat similar to what they had in the recent Jurassic Park films. It's for the 30th anniversary of Jurassic Park hitting the theaters. So the pack decals can be applied to any 2018 and newer Jeeps. You can also spend an extra $100 and you get a Jurassic Park themed transfer case knob insert. And if you think that little insert's expensive, the whole package in total is $650 in total if you go for everything. And you might need to be drunk to be buying that. But there's part of the reason with it is it's there's only going to be 100 of them made, numbered 0 through 99. So if you look at the Jeep, just under where it says Wrangler there, where it says that 18, that's going to be where the number is, I believe.
Oh, your personal number of 1 through 100 that you got.
Yeah, personal number 000 through 99. Yeah.
So I thought it was 18 because the Jeep in the actual
maybe-
Jurassic Park movie was 18.
Only package so maybe it's the appearance packages are numbered from 0 to 99, and as of when this article was written, they were still available. Oh no, so the JP logo will be it. Unfortunately, it's not as screen accurate as the film with some of the other stuff elements from it. But it's stickers for your vehicle to set it up. I know a few people that have done the Jurassic Park theme for their Jeeps. It's been a popular theme to do since the 90s with the original Jurassic Park. So I don't know. It's pretty cool. I like it.
$650. That's a lot for decals. Because I'm sure you can go on Facebook or eBay, Facebook Marketplace, wherever.
Or
And
whip out
probably-
your wife's Cricut and do it yourself.
Or that. But I'm I'm pretty sure you can get this whole sticker package done, movie quality, like replica for $130, I'm guessing.
Probably.
But on the other hand, like how much resale does that add to your Jeep to have the 1 through 100? Like, hey, I've got a Jeep and I've got the, Jeep brand, whatever. Like I told you before the show, I've spent $650 on worse, quite a bit worse.
Quite a bit worse. Yeah, I've spent lots of money on stupid stuff too. So it's like, while I'm knocking it, I'm like, I don't know if I'd spend that much on stickers. And then I'm like sitting here, I'm like, oh, I bought some really stupid stuff.
It's absolutely dumb, but if there was some kind of like FJ or Forerunner equivalent in a movie, and they were like, "Hey, we're gonna make 100 of these," I would look and see if there were any of those hundreds available right now. I'm not saying I would click buy, but I'd be like, is there a spot left for me to buy one? I would check.
Yeah,
It
no,
would be-
and I get it. I've bought in stuff where it's like a limited edition, and it's just like, oh, that's really cool. I like it, but it's like, I don't know. It's stickers. I have a hard time when it's just freaking stickers.
now do the Explorer. Oh God, I wish Ford would do that. And it would, if they did an Explorer Raptor edition, it would just make sense to do a Jurassic Park theme. Yeah. Because Raptor, get it. So our next story comes to us from thedrive.com. A GMC Canyon gets stuck on a hiking trail at 14,000 feet, has now been recovered. Excuse me. Yes, it is way up there. Last week, the driver of a shiny new 2023 GMC Canyon AT4 drove their off-road pickup truck up a hiking trail and got stuck near the summit of a 14,000-foot mountain in Colorado. It was such a remote and difficult location that the first attempt to retrieve it had to be aborted, leaving it on the crumbling mountaintop for days. But the debacle is over. The truck has been removed from its precarious position, and here's how it all went down. And excuse me for basically just reading this article straight to you, but that's the best way to tell this story, I think. So that's kind of how we're doing it. The GMC's driver, who is the son of the truck's owner, drove the DeKalbiron. I'm probably butchering that. DeKalbiron. I would ask Ben to verify that, but I know he's not going to do any better than me.
Calibron. Yeah. That's
I'm going to Calibron Trail on the afternoon of Sunday, August 27th. He's believed to have driven up Mount Bros from the east on County Road 787, which terminates at the former mining road and is not meant to connect to the DeKalbiron trail system, according to the Colorado 4x4 Rescue and Recovery spokesperson, Kimmy McBride, who said the path could nevertheless resemble an off-road trail to an untrained eye. So I'm guessing it's a pretty wide hiking path when it starts out. As the truck was registered in Arkansas, the driver is believed to fit that description. When I read that in the article, I'm like, are they just trying to say that people from Arkansas are dumb or untrained? Like, what? I don't know. Jap gets Arkansas people, like Arkansans. Wow. The driver made his way onto the DeKalbiron Trail and across the saddle between Mount Bros and Mount Cameron before the trail narrowed as it skirted Cameron Summit. At that point, the truck's back right wheel slipped, causing it to slide off the trail and bury the rear end up to the differential in the scree. It was at this point in the early evening that the driver called for help from Colorado 4x4 Rescue and Recovery before hiking 8 miles down to the nearest town of Alma.
Hey, at least he was on a hiking trail.
Speaking of drinking, this dude took his dad's essentially brand new AT4 Colorado up in the mountains on a hike. Like, it doesn't say this guy's age or anything, but this feels like there may been some drinking involved. All right. With the approval of law enforcement and the Forest Service, the all-volunteer Colorado 4x4 Rescue and Recovery team reached the GMC on Wednesday, August 30th with the driver in tow. They spent about 12 hours digging scree from underneath the truck using pole pounders to place winching anchors, but to no avail. By 7 p.m., they had to call it quits. The day of the high-altitude manual labor on a fragile trail had been taxing, and the team had to descend before dark to avoid unnecessary risk. Colorado 4x4 Rescue and Recovery planned to return to the site for another attempt, but the truck's owner called in a professional extraction team from Mountain Recovery. The company reached the vehicle on Friday and used a tracked Bobcat skid steer, which the GMC driver photographed in action. Mountain Recovery told us that it would provide more details on the truck's recovery. It was a mistake, McBride told us. He thought he was driving on the road, and it very quickly got narrower and narrower and narrower, and then he realized he messed up. To the untrained eye, it looks like one trail system. Is that an excuse? No, McBride continues, but if you're going to play in the backcountry, we really recommend you take time to know where you are going and what's happening. Ironically, this GMC driver isn't the first to make this mistake, as a photo on 14ers.com shows a Toyota Tundra doing the same almost exactly 14 years ago. He may not be the last, as Coloradians explained the eroding of trail etiquette and increasingly reckless use of motor vehicles like side-by-sides. There are places where motor vehicles simply do not belong, no matter how much we want to drive them there. Leave no trace, the outdoorsy often say. And as the Forest Service told us, we understand it's a bit more physical, but in the long run, it will be better for you and everyone else on the trail. Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks like practically the same spot. And that is just looks like a nasty, it just almost looks like a gravel avalanche, like trying to drive up the side of a blasted rock pit.
No, thank you. Yeah. I'm surprised that since this is not the first time it's happened, they haven't put in an eco block or something when it turns to a trail, or a gate that says on foot only now. Just something to clearly mark it. Obviously, you should be educated in where you're going, but it might help to have, some markers that say, hey, footpath only now.
The first Eric asks, how hard would you lobby to be one of the guys to drive on a hiking trail to help? Ha ha ha. I would if I'm actually been in some situations where I went to recover people and I was like, you're not supposed to be there. So peace. I'm not going to go in and pull somebody out and get a huge ticket doing it. So if the Forest Service and everybody okayed it, why not? I'd give it a whirl. And I'd also see if there was a road below that hiking trail down at the bottom of that steep area and ask them if they had full coverage insurance. And then a couple of us would push real hard on the uphill side and see if we could get down that road.
Yeah, it's I'd lobby pretty hard to go and help with that. Having, most of the equipment that would help in that. I would be hesitant to I'd be very forward with making sure that I was all legal in my help with it, though. We've had some recoveries here, through Warren, where they had one guy that was stuck in a gulch, and it was on Forest Service, or I don't know. It was some bureau, maybe it was BLM land, and they had to contact the BLM to get permission to take vehicles down there to get this guy unstuck and out of there safely. And they allowed it, so it helps. It's a lot better than having to spend money on a professional recovery, especially when it's just volunteers. But sometimes it helps just to send the professionals out there because they have heavier duty equipment. I mean, how many people do you know that own a Bobcat with a winch on it?
None.
Exactly. So it's cool. It's also scary as hell, though. Sometimes I just wish they marked trails where they turn into where it goes from road to hiking trail like that. I ran across one of those in Montana, and my GPS at the time showed it as continuing road, but as I saw how narrow it was getting, and it turned into 2-track, quadding trails. It was yep, nope, not driving down that.
Badland Industries comment says, I had to call the rail company due to needing to do a recovery of a vehicle off of the tracks. We had to be on the tracks to complete the recovery. Pretty sketchy. Yeah. That is sketchy. Raggle Fraggle says, own a Bobcat 4 with a winch? Nada. I'm pretty much in the same boat there. I know a couple people with Bobcats, but Bobcats don't need winches for themselves.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Like I was looking at this picture and like you see on the Bobcat there, it's got a winch up front.
Yeah. Yeah. Skid steers are essentially mini tanks. And I'm not going to pretend that it was probably sketchy getting that skid steer there. I mean,
yeah,
track vehicles aren't the best on side hill, honestly.
Yeah. No, I can't tell. It looks like that's rubber track, right?
Yeah, it's a rubber track.
Yeah. So rubber track, I mean, that's even worse on that like gravelly rocky stuff because it's not that hard to toss the track off on accident.
Yeah.
Not fun.
All right. Should we get in our main topic?
Let's get drunk, shall we?
Go prepared with Warren Industries. They produced the first recreational winch in 1959 and lead the industry with their dedication to quality and reliability. When you dig yourself in deep, make sure you have the right tools to get yourself out. Get Warren equipped and go where others can't. Now, let's get ready for adventure and head into our main topic.
So we've got to start this off with the obvious. Drinking responsibly. Obviously, you should not be drinking and driving because one, that's against the law. Two, it puts others at risk. I don't know how much more obvious I could be with this. Like, obviously, choose your times to drink for the proper time and be doing it responsibly because it's not just your life at hand. You've got your passengers, you've got other people and their passengers, kids, animals. The risk of closing a trail because say it's a group that owns that trail and they see people out there drinking and driving, they're going to close it because they're tired of people drinking and driving on their trail.
It's as much about the look of it. Like if you're driving a trail, you want to stop and have lunch and enjoy a microbrew with your sandwich, like more power to you. Like go for it. It's not a big deal. I know a lot of guys that they're drinking responsibly, air quotes, but they're still having a beer while they're driving or cider or whatever. I don't really have a problem with that other than how it looks to other people that aren't wheelers. I've seen lots of guys also where they open the door and 20 beer cans fall out and then they fall out, and it looks terrible. Like people litter them all over the trail. Just, know yourself. You want to enjoy a beer, that's one thing, but like let's be realistic.
Yeah, you represent
other people. It's a dangerous sport. You can get hurt, and then even if the beer you were drinking had nothing to do with your accident, it's still you were drinking while it happened. Everybody's going to point to that and just gets trail shut down. So be very careful about your wheeling and drinking.
Yeah, you represent all of us. Anyone who drives a vehicle off-road when you're off-road. It's how the hikers and all the people that don't want you out there are going to act because you did it. Same goes for the side-by-side guys. Those guys have gotten a really bad rep because of all the guys out there drinking and driving into other people on the dunes and driving off the trail because they don't know better. And then, they add a little bit of alcohol in it because side-by-sides have essentially no windows and stuff. Their beer cans fly out. It looks even that much worse for them.
We all know the people who are really leaving the beer cans everywhere out there, and that's the hunters, but we'll leave that alone. And they're probably on a side-by-side, but like if you've ever done it, at least in the Pacific Northwest, you ever been hunting, I mean, you can make some money. Just you can find people by the trail of beer cans. You're like, oh, somebody's down this road, drive a couple miles. There they are. Like, so just be responsible out there, guys. And, make some rules for yourself. Like for me personally, I go camping. There's usually wheeling and shooting. I get back, maybe I'll have a beer with lunch or something, but that's all I'm going to have during the day while I'm wheeling. We get back to camp, we eat dinner, whatever's going on. I start opening up booze, start having mixed drinks or anything. Like I'm actually going to have a couple. All my guns are put away and I'm not driving anymore. Like I draw a hard line. Like if I'm going to enjoy my drinks, then these things I'm not going night wheeling after throwing a bunch back. I'm not showing anybody a gun after I've been drinking. I don't even carry a gun. If I'm drinking, I take my carry and I put it in the truck or something, like it's off of me. So just, just be responsible. And now that we've talked about how to be responsible, let's talk more about being irresponsible. Ben, what's your like mix that you would, if you want to give these guys a drink that they should try? Like what do you say they do? A little recipe.
So I'm gonna keep it simple. This is bamboo rum. It's very fragrant. I like it. Very good tasting. It's out of the Caribbean, and very sweet. Nathan Popolowski showed it to me while we were doing that Nevada trip, and I mixed it with my Dr. Pepper cream soda. That's an amazing mix. That's like my favorite go-to right now. That and, going old fashioned with just a whiskey or bourbon and Coke.
The Dr. Pepper cream soda. I'm not like I love Dr. Pepper. I'm gonna say that right now. Like more than water. I could exist on that only. It's the runniest barbecue sauce of deliciousness that there is. The cream soda one, I'm kind of not so much with just drinking straight up, but with alcohol, it mixes super well. I absolutely agree.
Yeah, and the rum, it's so sweet tasting. Like you can drink it straight and enjoy it, and then you mix it with that.
What was the name of that rum again?
Bumbu, BUMBU.
That's I'd like to try that. Honestly, it sounds good.
I thought you have.
Yeah, I probably have, but I mean, like when people are just like, "Here, try this," like, it is. I'm going to go with a little more in-depth recipe. This one actually requires some work and some patience and stuff, and it's a fairly common one. You may have made it before. You may know it by a different name. Around here, we call it baked apple pie. A lot of times it's made in a crock pot. Some people call it hot apple pie. Some people call it apple pie moonshine. There's a bunch of different names for it. But you Google any form of that, and you can get a version of this recipe. But this is what I do. So you get yourself a half gallon of apple juice and a half gallon of apple cider. You can go all juice or all cider. I have a gallon of like fresh pressed cider that we did ourselves that I'm going to turn into this the next day or two. Then it's going to go in the cupboard for probably snow wheeling or something this winter. You take those, you put that in a pot, get it up to boiling. You put in a cup of white sugar, cup of brown sugar, throw a couple cinnamon sticks in there, give that a stir, and just let all that spice and apple juice get to know each other. Make sure that sugar dissolves in there real good. Don't let it, burn it. Go ahead and turn it off. Let it start cool down. So alcohol boils, I believe it's like 156 degrees. Now it starts evaporating at that temperature. You're going to want to kind of it can still be pretty warm, but just remember, you're going to lose alcohol content if you just dump it in while it's still boiling. Like water, it's not just going to immediately all boil, but it will start lowering your alcohol content. So let it cool down. It still needs to be pretty warm, but maybe you can dip a finger in there without getting burnt. You're going to go ahead and get yourself a fifth of Everclear. Yes, a fifth, and you want the 190 proof, not that 151 stuff. No. We want the good. You want the straight rubbing alcohol version, the one that's like gasoline. Dump that whole bottle in there, just the whole thing straight in it. Then you're going to grab, now this is the other part, you can kind of play with it. I prefer to do about 2 cups of spiced rum. Some guys will do a vodka, like a whipped cream vodka or a vanilla vodka or like a vanilla rum. You can kind of play with that to flavor. I prefer spiced rum. That's me personally. About 2 cups of spiced rum. Go ahead and give that a good stir, jar it up. I will strain it because the cinnamon sticks, when you heat it and you're stirring it, they kind of break up. You don't have to, but I strain it, jar it up. I like to do quart jars because if you got more than 2 guys, a quart's going to go pretty quick. You start passing that jar around. And then I'll drop a cinnamon, those little cinnamon sticks. I'll drop 1 in each jar just to let it kind of be in there. Let those cinnamon sticks get to know that for a while. Now you can drink this while it's warm right then. It's not going to taste near as good, but jar that up, put it in the back of a cupboard or back of the fridge, someplace cool. in about 6 to 8 weeks, you can barely tell there's alcohol in it. And I've literally, my wife at one time, someone else let her have like a Dipsy cup full of it. And we were at an event and I was drinking with the boys and we're camping and she's like, I'm not going to drink. And I was like, okay. And then she came over. Somebody offered her this. You want some hot apple pie? She's like, what is it? And it's like, it tastes like apple pie. And she's like, I'll try it. Like 15 minutes later, she had downed a whole Dixie cup of it. And I was like, I thought you weren't drinking. And she said, I'm not. I said, oh, you're about to learn. Like it is strong. It is strong and does not taste very strong. So you can Google that recipe. Everybody has a little variation to it, but that's one I like to make every fall. I'll do about 1.5 gallons of it in jars, tuck it away, take it to, Thanksgiving so the family can all try to kill each other.
Yeah. Regal Fraggle's asking here in the comments, what's the cheapest whiskey / liquor you admit you like to drink? He's a big fan of the Jim Beam Devil's Cut.
Bro, I've literally drunk Bud Light multiple times on air live after the debacle. So I just want to point that out. Like, what will I drink? Like, I don't really have a line. Like, if it's cheap, I'll try it.
Oh, we've tried lots of weird things with you. Hell, I've drank and I've shared the tequila that was soap. But like one of my favorites to drink is at Winco. They have like the little pints of the Jim Beam, like orange and honey and vanilla and apple. And I really like the vanilla. I buy that one all the time.
Raggle Fraggle says shame to me. Okay, all the stuff I got was pre-ban Bud Light. So we're clear. I haven't bought any.
You're gonna keep it in your
a lot of Bud Light, and I usually when I have it, I save it to drink live because I think it's hilarious. But
do you like keeping it in your Liberty safe now too?
I store it in my Liberty. Those memes are. Google it if you know what we're talking about. Yeah. All right, Ben, do you have any cool stories, or should I start out with some good drinking stories?
I'll let you start off, and I'm sure we can just switch off trading off stories here.
So I've got some that are good drinking stories, and some that are just insane, where I almost had to punch people to stop situations. But I'm going to start out with one that might have been my finest hour, could have been the highest point in my life. Honestly, I do this big. There's a FJ Cruiser at the Dunes every year. I go pretty much every year. I used to be there for like 3 days and I'd camp and we'd have this whole branch of the campground that we'd camp in. And I had 4 or 5 like good FJ Cruiser and 4Runner buddies. And we all kind of met there and we'd be in the campground before the event, and every night of the event, we'd drink it up. It was a party. Like one time a dude brought a massive like rave style DJ setup. I didn't know the guy, but he was like on the FJ Cruiser forums or something, and just went full on like bumping rave music, mixing board, everything, DJing, middle of a state park campground. And like the camp people would come up and be like, you need to stop. And he'd be like, yeah, okay. And he'd just keep going like nothing. He was escorted out the next day, but there was a lot of drinking there, and it still is, honestly. But the group of friends I had, I knew this drinking was going on. On a cruise ship at one point, I had bought a gallon bottle of Crown. It looks just like the pint bottle of Crown, but literally, 8 times bigger or whatever. Massive. I took that and I filled it with apple juice, and then I had a little bottle of Crown so I could compare color. And I sat there and just a little bit of cranberry juice till I got the color just dead on. You looking at the bottle, you could not just differentiate it from a bottle of Crown whiskey, but it was 90% apple juice, 10% cranberry juice, something like that. I brought that with me. I got up a little late. It was like 10 o'clock. The guys had already started drinking. And as I pulled up, they were all, oh, you're here. I'm like, I got to set up camp, but check it out. And I like hold it up in the windowsill. Look what I brought. And they see this monster bottle of Crown. They're like, yeah, they're all excited. So I go set up. I come walking back with my bottle of Crown. I'm like, who wants some? They're like, oh, yeah, let's all have some. I take and I just spin the cap off on my forearm, like me first. And I just tip it up and start just chugging the bottle. And like, I was just going for it. Like I'm just drinking a gallon of apple juice. And after you're chugging for about 10 seconds, people realize once you've hit 10 seconds, you're going for the bottle, People start losing their minds. I heard one of my buddies like screaming "World Star." Like if people were dancing around, like they were losing their minds. Somebody was like, "Somebody video this," and I chug literally a gallon of apple juice, which is almost more impressive than chugging alcohol in its own way. But I chug a whole bottle of apple juice. I acted it up super good. I'm like, I'm coughing, which I didn't have to act that much when you chug a gallon of apple juice. I'm coughing and stuff, and people are just losing their minds. And I set the bottle on the table, like, whoa, yeah. And then one buddy kind of gives me a side eye, and he goes, let me smell that bottle. Anyways, he called me out. I wish he wouldn't have, because I was going to get in my truck and just leave and like go to Walmart, and like I would have had a license to do anything, and they'd been like, look, he drank a bottle of Crown. Like I could have done whatever I wanted for the next 6 hours, and no one would have really done anything except for the police. It was awesome and epic, and it was a sham, but it was still cool. What about you, Ben?
So when I want to say it was the year before you came on the podcast, we went camping, snow camping, and we had yakisoba that night, and so Jeremy wanted to knock it up a night, so we had a drink for that night, and we did Kalpis soju drinks. It's like a milk cream stuff with Korean rice liquor, and those things hit you hard, like so hard that I drank 2 of them and was just like, I dropped my phone in the fire without realizing I dropped my phone in the fire. And then like my cousin's sitting there next to me, and he's like, hey, is that your phone in the fire? I'm like, oh, yeah. And pulled my phone out. My phone was still working amazingly enough. Yeah. Yeah, those hit me really hard. First
Does
time I
the
ever
little
drank those.
paper inside turn red when you light your phone on fire, or is that just water?
I think that's just water. I'm pretty sure that little paper turns black when it's been on fire because it got overheated.
Travis Hudson says Koloa Cowies. Am I saying that? Koloa? Cowie spice, mixed, straight, doesn't matter. It's like liquid crack. Once you start, you can't stop. That sounds interesting. I'm assuming that's like a Hawaiian rum. I don't know.
Possibly. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's like, what was that? Aftershock? You remember Aftershock?
I remember the bottle. I don't ever remember drinking it. And I don't know that's because I haven't drank it or I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, he says yes, it is a Hawaiian rum. Some of those there's a Hawaiian coconut rum. I don't remember the brand. It's some niche brand over there that's like incredible. It's hard to put into words. It's incredible, but you can only buy it there.
Yeah, those haichus or sochus, they were so great. Aaron Kravik, who was with us, drank quite a few that he was hanging out the side of his Tundra throwing up that night.
That's it's better. You could be in the Tundra throwing up. Like that's the next
level. He at least made it out out the side of the Tundra, like down the side of it. Had to clean it off with snow and all, but I mean, at least it wasn't in the Tundra.
Mark Stanton says ran to Costco this evening to pick up a bunch of chicken breasts and got Maker's Mark 1 3/4 liter for $52. It got me again. The fact that you got out of a Costco for $52 blows my mind. I can't get out of there without losing $400.
Yep.
Oh, so this is not as cool of a drinking story. Everybody knows me. I'm pretty laid back and kind of. I mean, I like to talk crap, but like I'm considered a nice guy in most circles and pretty hard to rile up. I went with a group to the Irondale Shipwreck, which is on the Oregon coast, and it's like 13 miles of beach you can drive on, and then I think a couple more miles after it gets a certain time you can drive farther down the beach because during the day they close it for people, but there's just a sign But you can drive farther once it's like 8 o'clock or something. You can drive farther down the beach. It was kind of like an online Facebook group thing. There's a bunch of wheelers going to go there and have like a bonfire kind of meetup deal. It's, I don't know, 3 hours from my house. So I drove over there and did that. And it was advertised on the Facebook thing as like family friendly, you know. I brought my propane oven, like baked cookies on the beach, and we're good. Like, yeah, it was. I'm a weirdo, I admit it, but I like the kids loved it. There's kids there. So yeah, I fresh cookies and bacon on the beach, and there's a bonfire, and it was a good time. Well, as it got later, like families kind of started leaving, and there was people were drinking pretty good, and there was one guy that was drinking very excessively, and then had like a 48-inch bar chainsaw cutting wood and sandals, and we're all just like, this dude's gonna cut his leg off, like. And there's not like close hospitals on this part of the coast, so this is gonna be interesting. It just kind of gets, people are drinking more and more, and then we decide to drive down the beach farther, and I'm kind of hanging back because I know there's been too much drinking. I should have honestly just left. I had my wife and my son was 2 or something then. My wife might have been pregnant, I can't remember, but I'm kind of hanging back. And not everybody had been drinking, but you could tell there were 3 or 4 individuals out of maybe 10, 13 vehicles that it just, they went excessive. They drank, they shouldn't have been driving. So we drove farther down the beach, and then the dude that had drank, this dude in this Tacoma that just, he had to be close to blacking out. He's just driving, like doing cookies around people, just going nuts. So I kind of pull off to the side, and up higher on the beach, there's kind of a little rock shelf thing. And I just drove up there and parked where I could watch everybody. And once I drove up that, then everybody decided they should drive up that too. And then now I got all these drunk people driving at me. And at that point, a couple of them like, hey man, I'm over here to get away from these drunk people, so just stop. And a couple of them were like, oh yeah, cool. I'm like, I got my family with me, like, let's all be cool here. And they all kind of understood, except for the guy in the white Tacoma. Then we go to leave, and I pull down, I'm kind of talking with a buddy, and he's just sitting there doing a Brody around me and my buddy. Big does like third one, and I got out of my truck, like I was like as angry as I've ever been. I'm like, hey man. And I had some words. I'm like, I got my family with me. You drank way too much. You need to knock it off. And I didn't say it that nice. Like, I was upset, and we keep this show family friendly. And he kind of backed down. I used my dad voice / drill sergeant voice. And I'm not that kind of guy. Like, I don't yell at guys and like go up and like ready to start a fight. But at that point, if he'd gotten out, like we would have been rolling in the sand. Like, I was ready. This dude he was doing too much, and just I felt was way too unsafe. And I had my family with me. I went ahead and left and for the night, and some of the guys camped and whatnot. And I actually wrote the guy that headed up the whole excursion, was like, look, man, a lot of those guys drove home, and it's hard for me in a good conscience not to call the cops and say there's like 8 crazy drunk dudes. Like, at a certain point, I've never called the cops on somebody for drinking and driving, but like, when they're that bad, like at a certain point, it's your duty. You got to be like, hey, they can't, somebody's got to do something. I was like, if you're going to have these events, you're going to have to reel that in one way or the other. Cause that's just too much. Like, you gotta do the right thing at a certain point. And I don't want to be that guy that's like calling the cops when I leave a, 4x4 event. So
Yeah.
not a fun one, but one that pops up in drinking stories.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, though, it's good that you weren't afraid to call him out on his crap, though, because I mean, sometimes that's what some people need, and they'll like, oh yeah, maybe I am a little crazy and I need to calm down. So I've got a story here. I had a guy on post up on Warren back in the day when you could post up, hey, I'm stuck, lost, whatever. He had gotten his Jeep stuck up, and he posted up that he was stuck. I think it was Greenwater, and he needed help. And close enough to me, I was like, yeah, I'll go help him. And so I go up there, and he'd been stuck for a while and was waiting. And so he decided to drink. And well, he'd been waiting so long that he drank a whole 48 case like the big rack of Coors. So he wasn't driving. Like he was like fall down on his face drunk. I was like, "Hey dude, how about I load you up and we go crash and then we'll come back in the morning." He was just like so I got his rig unstuck and then I pulled him out and then he actually had a different buddy take him up there in the morning to get his rig because he was just too trashed. It was like, nope, I'm not gonna let you drive. Dude was like falling over, stumbling because when you're waiting, you're not driving, you're not doing anything. So why not have a beer and then another beer and then a 6-pack turns into a half rack and then a half rack turns into a full rack and then hey, there's someone there to help you and you can't even walk, let alone drive.
I'm not giving that my blessing, but I've had some bad days where sometimes you're just sitting against a broken vehicle and it'll just be like, it passes like, man, if I had a bottle, I'd just drink half of it right now and close my.
No, I didn't blame him at all. I mean, he spent so long waiting for someone to come up there and help him. I mean, I saw the message and it'd probably been up there 4 or 5 hours and it took him 2 hours to hike out and to get help. And then he had to hike back in to just post up that he needed help.
I'm sure that all that alcohol didn't help his situation at all, but I've never seen milk get anybody unstuck either. So
No, it's a great way to pass the time. It's just he by the time someone was there to help him, I'm like, I get it. Hey, I've got time to burn. I'll just drink a beer and burn some time. It's just he had a lot of time to burn, and frankly, I don't blame him. I'm just glad he like decided to stay with his vehicle because then it could have turned into a search and rescue situation to who knows what else. And I mean, at least he stayed with his vehicle and he was more than willing to come with. He realized he drank too much. So it's like I just winched him out of being stuck and he's like, "Yeah, let's yeah, cool, you can drop me off at home." And he wasn't too far out of the way, so
nice. Well, my next drinking story doesn't involve me drinking at all. I didn't drink a drop for this. So there was a local area to me it's called Snow Peak. I don't know if that's the real name. Everybody calls it Snow Peak. It's just kind of an area. There's not even really, there's several peaks there. I'm not sure which one is actually the Snow Peak, but it's a lot of shooting in the summer and snow wheeling when there's enough snow. But I used to go up there and wheel in the snow a lot, but it's also well known. So there's tons of people up there. I usually go late, get up there at 9 o'clock, wheel till 1 or something in the morning. There's less people, but when you do that, you'll find generally there are people drinking or can be people drinking. It seems like once you get later, the families kind of leave and the basher wheelers, the rock crawlers and all those guys kind of show up and they're a little bit more into drinking and wheeling. Me and my buddy Ryan are up there. We both have kind of nicer. I mean, we don't have crawlers, like we don't have bashers, so that like we're trying not to get dents in our stuff, but we're doing our wheeling thing. We kind of meet up with some other guys. I can't remember what all they were driving, but one of them was a yellow first gen Toyota, like an 81. And they're explaining where this one spot is. They're going to take us up to this like radio tower or something. And we're like, well, we'll follow you guys. These guys had clearly been drinking, but they were walking and talking. They seemed like they're holding their own. So we're like, we'll follow you. So we're following them. And it's stuck in my mind, this dude, as he's going around this corner, and there's quite a bit of snow with decent like banks on each side, like a 2-foot bank. This little Toyota just turns sideways in the road and then doesn't slide sideways, it just turns sideways and like defied physics. It's just driving at like 25, 30 miles an hour. Dude was driving way too fast for the condition. And it just goes sideways and straight over the bank and downhill, just like whoop, it just disappears. Just gone.
I'm gone.
Really, like it happened so fast. Like I don't know how it didn't slide sideways down the road. Like all that forward momentum was suddenly transferred 90 degrees. Like, and he just whoop, whoop, over a bank, pretty steep little ravine, just gone. Luckily the snow was deep enough that it slowed him down. He stopped 10, 15, 20 feet down. Like, and he didn't hurt his truck at all, but it's on a steep, I'm talking, 30, 40 degree bank, like a steep bank. At that time, I didn't have a winch yet. Nobody there had a winch, which would be the obvious go-to thing that you would use. And these guys start busting out straps and stuff, and they get a tree strap, put it on a tree, and then they're like, we need a shackle. You guys got any shackles? Because they had all their shackles they'd use to like hook to the vehicles. So we loan them a big shackle. They do a tree strap to a shackle, and then they run a tow, like a yellow tow strap through the bow of the shackle, and they're pulling it 90, making a 90-degree turn with the strap through a shackle. At that point, we're just like, look, man, we'll loan you a shackle, and then we're going to back way up, and you guys do what you got to do. And this, I can't remember what the other guy was driving. It might have been like a Chevy, like an 80s Chevy or something. He just starts getting on it, and he's slamming it, and he got that guy pulled up and out of there. Like, it took him about 5 or 6 minutes, but I mean, it worked. That shackle on that strap, it slid through there. It wasn't as good as a cable and a block, but it technically worked, and we were all kind of like scratching our heads. We're like, well, I guess that's one to put in the toolbox. Technically, that did work. Like,
Yeah, that'd be like the last resort I'd use, but yeah.
Oh, it frayed the daylights out of the strap, but it did work. And
Yeah, I would consider that
it was funny.
shackle
It
even
was fun to watch.
compromised.
All right. What about you, Ben?
Oh, I should share the AMFs and the Roto packs, right?
Obviously, that's an
Yeah,
off-road podcast classic at this point.
that's a classic at this point. Yeah. So, what was it? Was that our last snow trip together?
It was the last one I was on. It wasn't the
Yeah.
last.
Yeah. So that was 2 years ago. Yeah. We, I want to say it was Jeremy has the water Roto packs, the white ones, and an AMF stands for Adios MFers. And it's like, what's in an AMF? Let's see. It's got
It's tequila.
vodka, rum, tequila, gin,
And,
blue cacao, Karukaku, and sweet and sour mix, and 7-Up or Sprite.
Blue. It was like blue Serrano or something. It's one of those blue liqueurs.
Yeah, it's a blue liqueur. So this one was made in a Roto packs, and it was literally where you're just dumping bottle, and then we had the 7-Up or Sprite sitting next to it in 2 liters. So you'd pour your drink, or we'd mix it, and then you'd pour your drink. And we went through 3 of those.
2. We went through, and there was like we wouldn't fill it up completely, but there was about, I'm trying to remember. I think it was a gallon in each one. We went through about 2 gallons AMF that weekend or so.
Yeah. Super
There were
dangerous.
shenanigans. It was a good time.
Yeah, super dangerous. I don't know anyone that doesn't like an AMF. They're really easy to drink. They taste so good, so sweet and easy to go down. Super dangerous. Though I didn't see any blue spots on the ground afterwards, so that's good. Did you?
I did. Wasn't Jeremy drinking out of the Roto packs on the? I believe he did. We had some left over, and he like poured it in his cup live.
Yeah.
That was all Jeremy's idea, and that was a power move on his part. That was Overland AF.
Yes, that was Overland AF. And it was a blast. It was a good time. I always enjoy when we do like group drinks. It's something Jeremy always brought to the table for our group trips, was like, let's have like a themed meal with a drink and whatnot, and like the sojus and the AMFs. It's always fun when there's something like that.
All right, I got another story pretty similar to the last one. So I was up in the same area of Snow Peak, and we're coming down. We had already done our plan. We're coming down. We come across this guy in an 80 series. Ooh, Kevin, Overland AMF. That we need to invent a new AMF that's an Overland one, just so we can call it that, and then like serve it at the Overland Rally or something. Overland AMF.
Does it need an IPA in it?
when you're giving them away, you could make it however you want. Like,
True enough. True enough.
anyways, coming down, there's a steep downhill part and has a big ditch on one side and essentially a cliff on the other. The big tire guys like to drop down on this ditch and drive around. It's pretty common to see somebody driving down. It's probably a 7-foot deep, wide as well ditch that you can drive in. I'm sure you're not supposed to. I don't take my vehicle in it because I'm 35s and I just drive into the ditch and be stuck and then have to get pulled out. So there was a guy in a 80 series Land Cruiser, one that was pretty beat up, not an overlander. This dude was clearly a crawler. This thing had dents on the sides and front, top, roof, back. Like, thing was beat up. I think he was on 37s and he had dropped down in that ditch, but he was a little, 80 series are a little heavy probably compared to what he's used to. And 37's not quite big enough to really be in the snow just playing like that, going wherever you want. And he got in there, and you could tell this guy was pretty drunk. He had a couple buddies with him that I'm sure had been drinking, but they were just talking to him. I don't know, honestly. But this other guy, he shouldn't have been driving. And he's in the ditch. He has a brand new winch, Warn M8000, because I looked up close and checked it out. He drags his winch line out, and we're kind of letting him do his thing, but we're watching because it was hilarious. He drags all this winch line out, hooks it to this tree way down the ditch line. He's not even trying to get down the ditch. He's just trying to winch himself farther down this ditch. I'm not sure what his thought was. Like, it would get easier as you went down the ditch. I don't know. But he drug too much winch line out, kicks it on, just strips it. Like, just rips the line out of that little bolt, strips it out. And he's so drunk, he's flailing around. Like, it's clear he doesn't even know what to do. We really don't want to pull him out. Like, I don't want to be super a part of this situation. Then I walk over there. I kind of know actually kind of knew the guy's older sister, but like, I kind of know the guy and who he is. Talk with him a little bit. And I had some of that like rescue tape. It's like a rubber tape that sticks to itself. So I got some of that on his winch line and then wrapped a bunch of that around half of his winch drum, so that I've done this actually several times. Then the winch line will stick to that real good. So even if you don't have the bolt there, you can get 5 or 6 wraps on it with that and actually use your winch again. And I rigged him to a closer tree, and he screwed around and pulled himself up and around. He finally pulls himself out of the ditch at some point when we're like, hey, why don't you pull to a tree on the other side of the road, pull yourself up and out of the ditch instead of down it. In this process, he debeads a tire, and it's completely debeaded. I think he debeaded two tires, actually. I had air, so I aired up one of his tires, and then we're trying to get the other one. The valve stem's ripped off, but don't worry, I got a couple Colby valves, so I go ahead and stick it in there, and I hit the air. We couldn't get it to bead. Nobody had like a high lift jack, but I had starting fluid. So if you're not aware of the starting fluid trick, you spray some starting fluid inside of there in the tire, and then you light your lighter and you point it at the tire. You give it another little spray and do the flamethrower trick with your can of starting fluid, and it when it pops, it will usually bead the tire back. It's popping, and you can kind of see it almost bead. The truck's jumping up, I don't know if you've ever done it, Ben, but the whole truck will kind of jump up, and then it comes off the bead. Like, it's just not sticking. So then I put air to it, because if you put air to it while you're doing it, you add oxygen to the explosion. I do this like 6 times and it's not going. So I blast the starting fluid, just stick it in there, spray it right on the steel rim, just hose it in there. And then I hook the air to it. I'm like, give it like 20 seconds to let that stuff, it start evaporating and misting. And boom, like it. It's a major one. Like, I could have beaded a backhoe tire with this, which is how I learned how to do this trick, actually. But the whole truck jumps in the air. I'm like, all right, it's rebeaded. We stick the valve on. We're trying to have like, man, it's not aired up. My other buddy's like, hey, man. He's like, just take it off. And I'm like, what? And he's like, just take it off. It's like, why? It's like, there's a hole in here. There was a hole so big on the back sidewall, he could stick his hand inside of the tire from the even on the tire. We got it rebeaded though. And at that point, we're like, hey man, like we're just gonna go home. Like it's like 1:00 in the morning. Like you got like a ride or whatever. He's like, oh, I got some more tires at home. These other guys gonna get me a ride. And I messaged him on Facebook the next day. I was like, hey man, did you make it out of there? And he made it out of there. But like he was, I mean, just glassy eyed. Like I don't even know if he knows what happened.
Oh man, that's a rough night. Made even rougher, especially when you put a hole in his tire.
No, I didn't put the hole. The hole was already there. That's why it wouldn't rebead. Because like when he with it debeaded, because he got out of the ditch with it debeaded.
Okay, I was thinking that the large amount of starting fluid and fire compromised.
I'm not going to say I didn't make the hole bigger, but I didn't blow up his tire. Like I just used so much, I was able to rebead a tire with a large hole in it. Badland Industries asked if we've tried the glue tread yet sidewall patch. No, I haven't. I offered to with somebody and they refused. And I, thankfully, knock on wood, have not stabbed a hole in any of my sidewalls.
Do you have one of those?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm really considering getting one for my kit just because I have such wonderful luck.
All right. You got another one, Ben?
I got one more, and this goes way back to when I had a JK. I went camping, and we were done for the day. And so the funny thing about Jaeger and me is every time I drink Jaeger, I usually like end up sleeping under like a table or something like that. That's at least how it was when I was 21 and living in my apartment. I'd like wake up under the table, like literally under like the dining room table or whatever. That was just the comfortable spot to go. Apparently, I just like sleeping under things when I drink Jaeger because I drank like a fifth of Jaeger, and I had put my keys away and all that, so I wasn't worried about driving. But apparently, like I had my tent all set up. Well, I know my tent was all set up, but that was not a good enough place for me to sleep. So I slept under my Jeep, and I woke up on the underside of my Jeep, and I ripped my sleeping bag, turning and like catching the underside of my skid plate and all that. It was fun. Just, yeah. That's why I don't drink Jaeger. And then one of the guys that was on that trip, for my birthday that next year, he came over to my house and gave me a fifth of Jaeger. And I still have that fifth because I don't drink Jaeger anymore because it's dangerous. And that's like a 10-year-old bottle now.
That's nice.
Yeah.
I got two more drinking stories. One's happy and one's sad but funny. This one I wasn't at. It's a story my dad always told. My dad, not really an off-roader, but he used to be into the Volkswagen dune buggies when he was, I want to say my age, but assuming actually younger than me because he didn't have them when I was a kid, but in his 20s. Him and some buddies were camping somewhere. They had their Volkswagen dune buggies, those Manx kits. And I'm assuming they were drinking because it was my dad. And he was pretty wild back in the day. But they're camping, and just around from where they're camping, the road turned, and there was a bridge like a quarter mile down. And there was a campsite farther up the road. They could hear people hooting and hollering and drinking. And all of a sudden, a car comes flying around the corner, and, quarter mile up the road where the bridge is, they hear them wreck. Just a smash. So they jump in their dune buggies and run down there. This dude was so drunk, he missed the bridge and just pile drove the actual like guardrail edge of the bridge just straight into the abutment, just slammed into it. My dad says like the guardrail is in against his motor. Like this thing is totaled times 5. The dude's fine, but he's so drunk he's standing out there with the hood popped, and they pull up and they said, "Hey man, you okay?" And he's like, yeah man, I think I need a jump. It won't start. And they're all like, my dad told us a story when we were kids. So anytime we'd see a car like rolled across the field, we're like, "Oh, I think it needs a jump." Like it was a rolling joke. To this day, me and my brothers will see a wrecked car and be like, "Oh, it needs a jump."
It's funny. It's like driving by someone who's like stuck in a ditch or something. It's like, I know what's wrong with it. Ain't got no gas in it.
Yeah.
No.
I now admit the thing where anytime I see like a car wrecked or something, I'm like, you can't park there. But
Yep. Nope. I use that one too.
Punched eventually. And then my last story, Ben, did you have another one?
No, I'm good, man.
I got one more story. It's a little bit of a, I don't know, not so much an off-roading story, but I was working out of town, and then me and all these construction workers camped in this field, and I paid for the spot in this field, the guy we were kind of renting the field from. And then a guy I worked with that was a friend of mine, like borrowed his uncle's camper or something. So I paid for the spot. I got to sleep in this camp, but I've been sleeping in this camper with this guy for 6 months. We're pretty decent friends. He turns 21 during this, I mean, we're in the middle of Central Oregon, maybe even East Oregon, depending on what your classification there is. But we're way out in the middle of nowhere. He turns 21 on a Thursday, and everybody there's like, hey, we're going to John Day, and we're going to the bars, and you're 21. We're going to get you drunk. We worked half day on Fridays. We'll go home, but we're going to go get you drunk. So we all go. By getting him drunk, everybody got drunk. Went to like 5 bars. We come back to where we're camping in this field, and we got like a little bonfire going on and stuff. He got, everybody bought him drinks. He'd literally turned 21 that day. We drank, he drank, I don't know how many, we called them tarantulas. They're like tequila rose and Red Bull or something, just caffeine and tequila, basically. Oh. He had a bunch of those, like, and apparently this dude, according to the next day, like 8 o'clock, he remembers nothing after that. We left the bar at like 10:30, but like 8 o'clock, last thing he remembers was playing pool in that bar, and that was at 8. I was drinking as well on the way back. I'm yakking out the window of my supervisor's work truck, just puke all down the side. Like I more got car sick because I was drinking. But anyways, we get back, and he was just so blacked out drunk that like he was trying to get one of the other guys to punch him in the face. And like, I've been around a couple guys that drink too much. They're like, hit me. And, like, do it. Yeah, I can take it. And you're like, why? Like, why would I do that? They're like, yeah, hit me in the face. Like, I don't know. Travis, I'm not even going into SmackDown stories. I've tried to stay away from those. I didn't realize he was there to uncover some of those. We're not going to talk about SmackDown. Anyways, this guy, he's trying to get this guy to punch him in the face, and he's just like, no, I don't want to hurt you. I'm not going to punch you in the face. And everybody's been drinking, but like, this guy's, he's gone. And then he gets mad, and he like storms off, like he's walking like to leave.
Why won't you hit me?
Yeah, and he's like, they think I'm a wuss, and he's like, yeah, and we're like, no, dude, he doesn't want to punch you in the face. Like, that's not, nobody thinks you're a wuss. Like, he just doesn't want to punch you in the face. It could hurt you, like, or maybe he'll break his hand. Like, we're being, and he just turns and looks back and goes, I'm gonna show him, and it just turns at a dead sprint towards those two guys standing around their campfire. He misses the one guy, see him coming, lean back. He caught his shirt, and his t-shirt just ripped it off his body like those basketball pants, like just a clean, just ripped it off. He ran like 20 feet past him, turned, and there's another guy who had nothing to do with that whole conversation that was like 5'1", kind of a small guy. And I just see him. He's literally like out of a football movie, cartwheeling through the air. Like he just tackles that guy. Oh. And then he's squaring up with another guy. So I run over there and tackle him. And I was like, come on, man, you got to calm down. I got him behind. You got to calm down, man. Let's just go inside. We'll just, I'm trying to talk him out of it. He's like, he's going to kick all our butts. So I'm like, look, man, if you don't calm down, I'm going to choke you out. And he's like, he's keeps yelling. I'm like, all right, here we go. Go to sleep. Choked him out. Then let off. He woke up and he got mad. And he went in the camper. And then later I went in the camper. But the next day I wake up. I just choked out the guy that, is my roommate and is in charge of where I sleep for this whole job. And I'm like, ugh. We're going to see how this goes. And he wakes up. He's like, what happened last night? And I'm like, man, you went wild. First of all, he's like, I don't remember. And I'm like, what's the last thing you remember? I was like, I was playing pool. I'm like, dude, that was like 8 o'clock and you went to bed at like 1:30. So I don't really tell him what went down. I'm like, you tried to kill one of the guys, you tried to do this, but I don't bring up my part of this. I just rather let that go if he doesn't remember it. We went to work for like half a day, and at some point somebody else brings it up, and he's like, earlier in the day, he's like kind of got a sore throat, but that can happen after you're drinking because you're talking loud and stuff. He's like, man, I feel like somebody hit me in the throat with a shovel. That's like, that's weird. I don't know, man. You were drinking a lot. I don't know. The stranger things have happened. Like, I'm just avoiding it. Eventually somebody's like, yeah, luckily Coin choked you out. You're trying to kill everybody. And he was like, what? And I was like, oh yeah, that's right. That did happen. Oh, sorry about that. He was super cool with it. And I'm not saying that because I'm some kind of super fighting person. Like, he was like rampaging, and I don't know, it went down that way.
It seemed like a simple solution.
It just, yeah, at that point, luckily I didn't hurt him, or he didn't hurt anybody else. But funny story.
Yeah, I had a roommate that he got wild, and one time he like passed out in the bathroom, and like we get him out of the bathroom, and like he's like passed out, and like I just picked him up like a baby, because while he was 6'3", he was very skinny. I just picked him up like a child, and like I went through the doorway, and I'm not small, and he wasn't short, and I fucking just slammed. Yeah, so I just like slammed his head into the door frame of the bathroom, and then into his room. Again, I hit his head on the door frame, and next day he's going, my head hurts, and my then girlfriend, now wife, was going, wow, you don't remember that? That's good. Okay. I think we told him at our wedding party about that story. About what did happen to him, because he had a big knot like on the side of his head, and he thought it was like from falling down in the bathroom for like, that was probably a year after that.
Since Travis brought up SmackDown, I will hit that just super quickly because there's way too many drinking stories to go into it, and it's not off-roading. There used to be an event in the Northwest called the SmackDown, and it's not the pro wrestler one. It was you had to bring a team of drivers, and there was a drift, drag, and autocross. And then they would take your like top best team members, the top 3, and those points it was a points-based event, so on and so forth. Not everybody, a lot of people would camp in this one campground, and it was a private campground, and they had like this wing where they were like, you were allowed to be noisy, and we'd have that whole wing to ourselves. And there was like all these competing team members then would show up, and would each have their own like area they camped in on the same road. And man, we would all drink a lot. And I mean, till 1 a.m, then go out and race the next day, come back, drink a bunch. Like, there were people that were supposed to race that couldn't because they drank too much, I mean, just like one time there was a guy that was so drunk, he was chasing a laser pointer, like they're shining on the ground, and he was trying to get it like a cat. And this dude that had the laser pointer, I don't know if it was me or one of my friends, were like, give me that. And we were like shining it at a tree, and he just run into it headlong. Then I'm like, give me that. I shined it into the briars. He just charged into the briars. It was craziness. That like 22-year-old, just absolute best times of my life. Some years it would be pouring down rain. We'd build these we called them gypsy cities. And then you'd start going between all the different campgrounds and what we called the party train, like stealing drinks and stuff. It was good times, but that's a whole thing by itself. And Travis used to kind of race with/against the team I was with, so he remembers that, but he's the only one. I'm surprised that came in here.
Nice. I will say that you do not have to drink to act crazy and have fun in the woods. Our mutual friend and co-host Aaron, anytime that dude goes out in the woods and we're wheeling and camping, it's like he's a whole nother guy. There's been times I've been out there with him, I'm like, are you drunk? Are you on drugs? Like, I've seen you down a bunch of root beer, and maybe it's all the sugar, and you're just so uptight, and you've let loose, and like, oh my goodness, you're a whole nother person. But
as Aaron says himself, he doesn't drink, and he's lame. Not because he doesn't drink. Being lame's a separate choice from not drinking. So
Yeah, it's nuts. I've never met anyone quite like him to where they will drink and or they will not be drinking, but they might as well be drunk the way they are acting. He's very fun that way. So next week we've got the ORBA, also known as the Off-Road Business Association, coming on for an interview. And thanks to everyone who listens to us weekly and those who tuned in live to watch us. Really, like the comments were on fire tonight. Really loved it. Really appreciate you guys coming on, sharing your pictures too. I appreciate it. Coy appreciates it. Aaron appreciates it. We all do. Share us with our friends. Help your friends. Help us grow. And God bless America.
Don't forget to visit Patriot Patch and join the Patch of the Month Club. Check out our Gaia affiliate link for up to 40% off. Also, don't forget to head over to Warren Colby Valve and 4 Patriots to see all of their great products. We are a proud part of the Firearms Radio Network. Got a question or comment? Send it to us through our Linktree account or by searching for Off-Road Podcast. Also, you can listen to us live at overlandradio.com Mondays at 7 p.m. Pacific. When off-road, please remember to have fun, tread lightly, and be safe and courteous. Thanks for listening.
And then this one time at off-road camp, we got really drunk and no one died. And I totally did a timestamp tonight. I'm impressed. It only took that much little alcohol.